Good afternoon, everybody, and it's a real pleasure for me to invite four panelists today in our panel discussion. And we are putting our panel discussions around medical devices. Medical devices with specific reference to India. India is the emerging hub of medical devices for domestic as well as international use. Most of you know we are dependent a lot, up to an extent of 80% in terms of import of medical devices. And the past couple of years has seen a great surge in medical devices that are coming out of India. And are we at a point, in the words of Malcolm Gladwell, are we at the tipping point currently in terms of medical devices for the future in India? Are we, at a point where we will be a geography to reckon with in the future? I know medical devices encompass something from a humble face mask to maybe a linear accelerator, which is used in radiotherapy, and everything else in between. So let's have a quick round of introductions in no particular order. We have with us Mr. Rajesh Patel. He is the CEO of Trivitron. He, I think so, heads their IVD division and has been in this industry for welcome, Rajesh ji.
Thank you, sir.
We have Mr. Gaurav Agarwal. He is the managing director of IITPL, and they are currently manufacturing cath labs in this country. And we're just having this discussion that it's something which is a social responsibility, and you're innovating within a space which is very responsible for preventing diseases which are very prevalent in India, and preventive healthcare, I think so, would be the future. So Gaurav Agarwal ji, welcome to this panel discussion. Good to have you join us.
My pleasure.
We have Mr. Siraj Dhanani, again a person who is part of the whole innovative medical device sector in India currently. He is innovating in India, and for the world. And welcome, Siraj, and hopefully we will learn a lot from you in today's session. Please, Dr. Vadhiraja, and he's a clinician who's joining us, and his perspective from a clinician point of view in terms of medical devices, in terms of usage of medical devices would be great. Doctor who practices in the radio-oncology field in radiotherapy at the Manipal hospitals in Bangalore, and has been doing so for a couple of decades, and is well renowned in this field of radio-oncology. So welcome, Dr. Vadhiraja, to the discussion, and hope to have a good one today.
Thank you.
Okay. So kickstarting this, as we said, medical devices are, in India, something that we all look forward that it scales, it grows, it comes with the kind of reputation that we want in the future as brand India. So I'm going to ask all of you to just give your initial thoughts, on where are we in terms of medical devices in India, and what do you think is the future holding for these devices for India, for the world, and maybe each of you can take a quick couple of points on this. So let's start with you, Rajesh ji. You're just on top of my screen, so I just taking that.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for this opportunity. As the question is very, very pinpointed, and most of the answers or most of the deliberations would be for medical devices which are in vitro and in vivo diagnostics, because my company is into both this. Where we are today, so if we really see the Indian IVD industry, with respect to the very routine kind of in-house development, the companies have really developed its capabilities. The moment it comes to the mid-level to high-level technology or the products, the industry still depends on the overseas land. There's still like we say that 70% of diseases require one or other kind of diagnosis, and then only the disease can be diagnosed. But then, unfortunately, 2/3 of the decision of diagnostic industry depends on the overseas land. So the dependence, it's highly overseas dependent, or maybe non-indigenized technology dependent industry is there. Highly fragmented. The industry is catered by more than 60,000 pathology labs, which are standalone chain labs, hospital-based labs, as well as government institution labs. Though it's a very, very critical part of the treatment as well as management of any disease. But
Sure.
currently, a lot to be done in this industry by Indian players. And the talent is available. The companies have really shown the newer development in the recent past, specifically in the pandemic and all. And I see a very bright future of medical device industry in India, specifically for in vitro diagnostics and in vivo diagnostics. Thank you, sir.
Great, great. Gaurav, if you can just little elaborate and take it up further. We are all talking about the Making India and the PLI scheme, right?
Right.
And where do you see medical devices at a larger level coming out of India?
So, talking personally, I am an eternal optimist, but even otherwise, I see that Indian medical device industry is poised at a place where perhaps Indian pharmaceutical industry was 20 years ago. Today we are looking at a market size of about $20 billion going to $50 billion by 2025. There are very few industries in the country which are experiencing this kind of exponential growth. I think the policy has its heart set in the right place. The PMP program, the PLI program, the trade margin rationalization, all of these are steps not only in the right direction for affordable healthcare, but also for a very strong indigenous manufacturing push. We're already the fourth largest market in Asia for medical devices among top 20. And I believe that this decade, 2020 to 2030, truly belongs for medical devices. And very soon, like India is called the pharmacy of the world, we could soon be called the medical device basket of the world. That's
Excellent, excellent. Mr. Siraj, innovations are going to play a very big role in this medical device onslaught of India, which we hope happens and happens soon. And what are your views as to will innovation play a great part as we go into the future of medical?
And in those kind of devices and those kind of solutions, I think India has a great opportunity to be the innovator for the world in this. Just like, we look at the US to be the innovator for new technologies, that can work within the high-end setting. I think India today has the opportunity for creating a whole new set of technologies that can work and save lives and improve lives in settings like India, which can easily translate to about 80% of the world's population, the non-developed markets. So, while there is a big game in doing incremental innovation in existing technologies like, CTs, MRIs, and so on and so forth, there is a huge potential also for creating novel technologies, generating novel IP and patents, and creating these technologies not just to save lives in India, but also in large parts of the world, which today are ill-served by Western innovation. And a few policy moves and a few, ecosystem moves can really help us realize that potential.
Good, excellent. I'll stick to maybe specific questions now, and I'll give it to specific people. So starting with Dr. Vadhiraja, you work with medical devices and the large ones, if I may say so, day in, day out. Okay.
Yes.
What are your quick views on medical devices in your sector where you are currently operating in radiation oncology and treatment? Where do you see India's future in that?
So in radiation oncology, we use linear accelerators these days. Earlier, we used to use Cobalt 60 machine, which was not that great because that it was not that precise. But now most of the hospitals have installed these linear accelerators, which is not manufactured in India. As one of the panelists said, we depend on the Western world. So there are two or three major players like the Varian and the Electa and the Accuray systems. So, but many of the hospitals have imported these machines, and patients also demand for a better technology. One is to have a better cure rates as well as minimizing the toxicity. So if we see in India, most of the hospitals have incorporated this technology, but to develop these technologies, I think there's a lot of research which needs to be done once it is manufactured in India. But if you ask the utilization, yes, most of the hospitals have good equipments in India, and we are utilizing it.
Sure. Uh, I'll have some pointed questions now. Cardiac stents. It's an area. This is to you, Gaurav. Maybe if you'd like to take that. Uh, we have seen manufacturers, Indian manufacturers, being on top of the pile right now. Okay, and I'll add a addendum to that question, which you can also maybe address. Is that we also had price caps on cardiac stents and implants that happened. Okay, so second part of the question being, is it stifling innovation, or you think it's also great for manufacturing in the domestic thing, in terms of, if there is a price curtailment, it actually helps the domestic manufacturers. So point A, stents manufacturing in India, we have, I think so, the Indian manufacturers have come a long way. So your thoughts on that, Gaurav?
Yes, so thank you very much. A very pertinent question, Sumit. But before I begin, if you allow me, Dr. Vadhiraja,
Sure.
there is a linear accelerator currently being built by an organization of IIT Mumbai by the name Samir. I'm fortunate to be part of a working committee that's advising them on commercialization of the LINAC. So just one of the examples where technology is right at the top of the equipment food chain are also being attempted in India. Now, coming specifically to Sumit, your question on stents being a shining example of India's success in medical devices. In terms of patients, I'll take a step back and talk about the disease burden. Cardiovascular disease kills nearly 3 million Indians every year and is the #1 cause of mortality. 3 million Indians. You compare that to the number of deaths due to COVID, which is about 500,000, you're talking about 6 times the number of deaths being caused due to cardiovascular disease. Now, pre-price cap, an estimated 4.5 lakh stents were used in 2016. And 2021, an estimated over 1 million stents have been used. So 2.5-fold growth in the number of stents, which indicates that the therapy has become more accessible to a much larger segment of the population. We are able to save more lives because the prices fell by up to 85%. So that is the first impact. What did it do next? The next thing that it did was it created a global industry that is producing in India and supplying to the rest of the world. Today, Indian stents are exported to about 80 countries globally. And mind you, these are not the third world or developing countries. I'm talking about Britain, I'm talking about France, I'm talking about Italy. These countries are consuming Indian stents. We are among the top 3 manufacturers of stents globally. So I think the government took a very well calibrated step by bringing in trade margin rationalization, and that not only created Atmanirbharta in this sector while curbing obscene profiteering, but it also created a global industry in a very, very critical medical device space.
Good. Fair enough. So capping trade margins to a large extent, you're saying, did help in this whole process, and the fact that today Indian prices that Indian manufacturers are coming up with is shaping the way devices are priced worldwide, which is wonderful to see. Which is wonderful to see from a country that only controls 3 to 4% of the worldwide medical device market. Excellent. So good news. Good news. Shifting focus suddenly to IVD. So, Mr. Rajesh Patel, I'd like you to come in here. Now, yes, diagnostics is a thing that is a part of a present and a very big part of a future. Okay, and I think so. Again, Indian companies have been innovating and are now equivalent, if not better than a lot of global companies because of innovations that we've done in products and processes. What are your thoughts in terms of the IVD sector, in terms of costs, in terms of more preventive care solutions that will come out of these solutions going forward, and how do you see this sector growing, and what are the innovations that are underway currently, Rajesh?
Yeah. So as I say that today the IVD sector has really shown tremendous development as well as tremendous growth. Let us take the example of this the recent pandemic. The COVID testing solutions which fall under the category of molecular diagnostic. Like before COVID or before pandemic, molecular diagnostic testing was basically a ball game of only the large laboratories, or we can say reference laboratories or chain laboratories. Usually the Me Too kind of laboratories, as I said that around 60,000 labs, pathology laboratories are there in India. So before pandemic, 56,000 laboratories were keeping themselves away from molecular diagnostic testing. Only 4,000 labs were performing this molecular diagnostic testing, and that too at a very tidbit level. Mainly, the market was captured of molecular diagnostic testing was by the chain labs, especially the top 12 to top 15 players. Today we have 2,600 plus private laboratories which are ICMR approved, which are approved to perform the COVID testing. So whether it is RT-PCR, whether it is TrueNet, whether it is CRISPR, whether it is LAMP technology, whether it is like so on and so forth, including the rapid antigen test. So today more than 3,000 private laboratories and 17,000 government laboratories are equipped enough to perform this test. And all this innovation and all this development has taken place in India. Today, 2 years back, not even a single Indian company was manufacturing RT-PCR, any kind of RT-PCR. All multinational companies were bringing their products in India, and they were selling their products in India. And wherever the need of genome sequencing or maybe the molecular diagnostic testing was there, the overall dependency was there only on the top 12 to 15 laboratories. So in terms of capability, the industry, IVD industry, has a lot of capabilities. So if we really talk about how the new product comes, how the new technology comes, one is that discovery takes place in-house, or the Indian company, they buy the technology from any of the foreign-based institute or foreign-based company, and then they develop the product in-house. They collaborate with other company and bring the technology in-house, or government schemes which they invite the high technology company to come and set up their projects in India, and then thereby the technologies are developed. I will say that India has done all the four steps. The products were discovered by Indian companies. The companies, they bought technologies and developed the products in the faster way. They collaborated with the foreign companies and brought the technologies and developed the product. And many of the technology zones like AMTZ, Andhra Pradesh Medical Technology Zone, Telangana Medical Technology Zone, they have also supported. So the Indian companies were supported by the state government as well as central government initiatives. The PLI schemes were there, which equipped this organization to really set up the machineries as well as the ecosystem to develop the product. So the talent is available in India, the system is available in India, and schemes are available in India. And I think we are moving in the right direction with respect to the IVD technology development, and it will grow further in times to come.
Good. Thank you, Rajesh ji, for those words of wisdom. The times, they are changing. That's what Rajesh ji said. Jumping focus to therapeutics and patient monitoring. So, Mr. Siraj, if I may ask you, uh, innovation is something that is integral part and parcel of how medical devices grow in India. Okay, whether it be in processes, whether it be in products, whether it we innovate or we collaborate with our institutions, uh, follow methodologies like the Stanford Biodesign Project. That's what I believe you guys do. How do you see, especially with a focus on how Ayushman Bharat, tomorrow is going to penetrate more into the Indian healthcare segment. We also know that technology, plays a big part. Where do you think innovation in these two sectors will take our medical devices to the next sphere? So, Mr. Siraj, on to you. You're muted, sir.
So can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly okay now.
Great. So, you're absolutely right. The public healthcare system is a large and growing market. And it always has been a big market, specifically for products that are well established and, which have established specifications where they issue tenders and, have price competitive bids. But it also has a potential to being a big customer for innovative products that are unique, that are designed specifically to address gaps that we see in the Indian healthcare system, which are largely and more extremely seen in the public healthcare setting. So with the growth of the Ayushman Bharat scheme, with people, seeing healthcare as a right that they can demand from the government, we believe there will be sustained increase in focus and expenditure by the government, state governments and the central government on healthcare and specifically on novel technologies, that can make a significant difference. Just by way of example, we are going to be shortly doing a project with the government of Assam, where every birthing facility of our certain size will have our infrastructure-independent neonatal breathing support system launched. Now, these sort of interventions have the potential to make a drastic improvement in parameters that matter, and neonatal mortality is a parameter that really matters to India and to the world. So I think with growth in schemes like Ayushman Bharat, with the general sort of focus on development and measuring outcomes that the current administration has brought, I think that portends well for the uptake of innovative medical devices in India. Of course, like everything else, a lot more could be done, and some very simple things can be done to make government buyers to make it a lot easier for government buyers to take up novel technologies. But I think we are going in the right direction.
A quick thought, Siraj, from you on IPR and the Indian structure on that. Where do you see that? If you're designing for the global world, and by global world, I mean if you're looking at addressing a great problem, which is just said of infant mortality. Okay. However, we have improved, we still have a long way to go, and I'm sure there are another 70 or 80% of the world has similar issues. So, how do you see IPR as is it a challenge in India, and how do you see it going forward?
The thing with medical technology, as I see it, which is fundamentally different from the drug business, is that medical technology typically does not have core patents underlying what you make. Something called a composition of matter patent that's in the pharma space, where a chemical structure is patented. So most of medtech is clever engineering. And again, I'm talking about innovative medtech, not the high-end complex imaging stuff they're doing. So your patents would be around ways to do things, around applications of different engineering principles to achieve an outcome. So patents do not hold the degree of market capture that a patent holds in the pharmaceutical world. Sure. It is much more that your technology is designed to address a problem, and if it addresses it, great. 5 years later, there could be competitors, but you created a novel market. Your broader question of whether what we make in India will apply to India-like countries, absolutely. We in India believe that innovation has to be intensely local. You have to understand a problem intimately before you set about solving it, and how you solve it will always be colored by the parameters of the problem that you see. But India-like conditions exist in large parts of the world. The same neonatal breathing support system I was telling you about is being piloted by World Bank in Ethiopia, because Africa has
Sure.
hard to think about it, but much worse neonatal care facilities than those we see in India.
Sure.
And so I think, which is why I believe that India can truly be the innovation capital of the world for, markets that are closer to the Indian sort of healthcare system than, say to the US is.
Excellent, excellent. Shifting gears again, moving on to solutions again. So I was speaking to a clinician friend of mine the other day, and somebody was talking about carcinogenic stuff, and somebody asked him,
Maybe,
what is a carcinogen? So the guy replied, just about everything around you. So, cancer has, as a disease, come so much into it that most of us have within families or within friends somebody who's suffering from that. So, Dr. Vadhiraja, I'd like you to come in. You work with medical devices in radiation treatment, large, if I may say, large and complex medical devices. So,
Yes.
could you just quickly shed some light on the advancements in radiation treatment for cancer? And how are these technologies, improving final outcomes? So if you could just give us a good run through on that, and maybe this will also help listeners today or in the future to maybe innovate, as Gaurav mentioned that we are already in the midst of making a linear accelerator, and let's see what else can come out of India. And I shall be an optimist too, like Gaurav,
Right.
which I am, but just stressing on it. Dr. Vadhiraj.
Yeah. It's really nice to know, Mr. Gaurav, that Samir is being developed in India, the indigenous linear accelerator. Definitely, this will help many of our Indian patients, because I believe that this would be available throughout India in the interior setups, because currently most of these technologies are available only in the cities, and patients have to travel all the way to the cities to avail these facilities. Coming to the discussion topic, the development in radiation oncology, because I'm a radiation oncologist. So when I did my post graduation, or when I was studying, it was all to treat on a Cobalt 60 machine. We did not have linear accelerators. Slowly, India started importing these linear accelerators, and we kept abreast with the technology with the Western world. And currently, we have whatever is available in the Western world, the linear accelerators or the cyberknives or the tomotherapy or Radixact X9, or even to the extent the proton system. Chennai has a proton system, and shortly, I think Tata Memorial Hospital also would be installing a proton system. So these technologies would certainly help in giving better treatment to the patients. One is improving the local control rates and the outcomes. In some of these cancers, especially the carcinoma larynx or carcinoma prostate, radiation would be the mainstay of treatment. I've just taken these two as an example. So
Sure.
definitely the local control rates and the cure rates have improved compared to the earlier era where we used to use Cobalt 60. The improvement in outcomes is basically the control rates one. Other thing is, since we have sharp beams and better technology, we are able to focus it better with the use of all these diagnostic equipments like MRI, CT integration, and PET CT. We are able to clearly define and also able to deliver. Earlier, we were not able to monitor the movement of these tumors, especially when it is located in the lung, liver, or pancreas, and even to the extent the prostate, which can move with the physiological variations like the gas filling in the rectum or the bladder filling variations. These days, we have technology to track these tumors and target it accurately. By doing so, we have improved the local control rates or the cure rates. We have minimized the toxicity to a greater extent. So that's what technology can do.
And thank you, Dr. Vadhiraja, for those views. Just what we have been able to, so far come up in this discussion, that we need an entire ecosystem to work for this to go forward. It cannot be, one or two or three, but all agencies per se, all stakeholders, everybody needs to be part of this. So, Gaurav, if I may come to you, what are the incentives, that the industry, the medical device industry today is looking at, especially in terms of, we're talking about medical device parks, we're talking about the PLI scheme, and the other schemes. What do you think, are the incentives required for more and more medical device equipment manufacturing to be set up in India? What do you think is the best way forward? If you can just share some light on that.
Sure. So, Sumit, very pertinent question again. I'll take a step or two back and also allude to the fact why techpreneurs should step into the medical device field, especially biomedical engineers. India is the fourth largest market for medical devices globally, the fastest growing medical device in the world, and among the top 20 medical device markets in the world. Now, the government has taken a lot of steps in the last 6 to 7 years. Some of them are phased manufacturing programs, like it introduced in the mobile phone manufacturing segment with great success. So PMP, of production-linked incentive schemes, and also trade margin rationalization. These are all great steps that are promoting indigenous and boosting domestic manufacturing capabilities. Now, what is needed today is to kickstart the innovation engine. We are making more and more of the same thing. For example, stents became a success story in 2017, and we saw a flurry of new Indian manufacturers in the same space. Diagnostics has done extremely well. We have some very large renowned players. Rajesh ji knows about it. But we have more and more of the same thing. What we need to really do is for the country's top academic institutions and medical institutions to come together. I'll give you an example. There are 30 bio incubators in the country today that are listed, hosting about 600 bio incubators. But if I ask anybody on the panel, how many technologies have you seen coming out of those or seeing light of the day? It's a very small number and nothing of significance, honestly. So one of the recommendations that I and Siraj are part of, we've made to the government, is that there are government schemes, for example, in Andhra Pradesh MedTech Zone, there is fantastic CapEx support. If you want to set up a large facility, AMTZ provides you with CapEx, land, plant, machinery. But to kickstart the innovation engine, an Indian medical device entrepreneur needs to cover the cost of prototyping. They need to cover the cost of technology transfer and cover the cost of validation of that concept, which is something that Government of India doesn't provide today. So in many forums, I have said that Department of Science and Technology has a huge fund available. They should follow something like a 1,000 Talents program in China or the incubation program in Israel, where a grant of up to $1 million or 10 crores is provided to industries that are capable of bringing in technologies on which there is either very high disease burden or second, very high import dependence. So that is one of the things. Now, second thing that I think is needed is that I see a lot of states come to us and pitch their medical device parks. But medical device is a very complex area, like Siraj alluded to. Pharmaceuticals is all about chemicals. Medical device diagnostics is about something else. It's about biologics. It's about proteins. Medical electronics is very different. It's all about electronics. It's about battery packs. It's about touch panels. It's about systems integration, etc. Devices is completely different. It needs clean rooms. It needs fabrication, laser machines, etc. So we are talking about a very complex cohort of devices and equipments being clubbed under medical devices. All these medical device parks need to have an enabling ecosystem of component manufacturing. And only then will there be traction, and only then there will be capacity increase in domestic manufacturing, and also it will attract more entrepreneurs to produce in India.
Good. So Gaurav, another point that, if I may so add, is that what you're also implying is some of these medical devices need to be focused on what they are.
Absolutely.
Focused in a certain field, whether it be in therapeutics and patient monitoring, whether it be in diagnostics, whether it be in higher-end devices. They need to focus on that the ecosystem that they provide is conducive to that specific subsect within the medical devices. That could be a thing that maybe we're trying to say.
Yes.
Moving on the same topic, Rajesh ji, any points in your wish list towards these incentives that can be made better for medical device manufacturing and innovation in India? Quick 1 or 2 points from you. You're muted, sir.
My apologies. As Gaurav ji has said, that AMTZ is one of the very good example where the incentivization of capex support by government, by AMTZ. Like we are one of the user for AMTZ, wherein we have set up our manufacturing plant where we manufacture all COVID testing solutions, and a lot of support is given by the government. And then subsequently, it was further supported by a PLI scheme, the production linked incentive. What I feel that where more the government can do is that if government can really release the expression of interest of the for the multinational players to come and collaborate with Indian diagnostic companies and really jointly develop some kind of technologies in India, because here the workmanship is much pocket friendly, the talent is available in abundance, and really we can develop much faster products as compared to even the developed countries, the kind of time taken by them. So what I suggest is that government should put initiative in such a way that where they should invite the large multinational players to come and collaborate with Indian players.
Good. Got the point. More collaboration with like-minded countries and companies that to come in. Siraj, what would be part of your wish list?
Thank you. I think I want to go back to the point that Gaurav made about how innovation is something that the government can support and what we need to do to drive it. I think there is a lot of points Gaurav made are absolutely spot on. We need more collaboration between doctors and engineers. But I think one very tangible area that we can work on is government procurement. So if I may just take a minute, if you, as anybody who's worked in the medical device space knows, most of government procurement happens through a tender system, where there are specifications of an existing technology that are a priori defined. The government puts that out, multiple vendors bid for it, and the lowest price wins. This works very well for multi-vendor technologies, but is completely designed against any innovative product, which by definition, only one company can make. Now, there is a sort of by exception way for an institution to buy this, but buy a product which is innovative, but that requires the institution to certify that this product is globally unique. Now, very few institutions are willing to, put a call like that. They just know that they have just seen this for the first time. So one simple thing the government can do is create a national system where people can apply for their innovations to be recognized as nationally important medical innovations. If they pass, then an institution should just be able to buy the product on the proprietary mechanism without issuing a tender and all of that. So the country as a whole can say, hey, this is a nationally important medical innovation. Institution X, you can go buy it. You don't have to certify, you don't have to expose yourself to, CAG or CDC or whatever. And I think a simple step like this, a certification of nationally important medical innovations can, by itself be a game changer. And if we link that to financial incentives, let's say the government puts aside a small amount of 100 crores as, a matching grant to every institution that buys a technology, 50% of the cost would be met by the central government. this one thing would do more for the innovative medtech sector than any other policy change, in my opinion.
Oh, great. Okay, point taken. Dr. Vadhiraj, again coming to you, how do you see, from your end? I'm sure you just found out about the linear accelerator, and you would have loved to be in a part of it, and I hope you can be a part of it, and maybe Gaurav or somebody can facilitate that, in terms of that, each and every radiation oncologist in India would be proud to have its own linear accelerator.
Yes.
Where do you see the future in terms of medical, uh, with specific reference to cancer care? Where do you see you asking for a few things from the government? What do you want that can be done to improve the development of these machines and devices in India?
So I think as an end user, this has to be available in most of the cities in India. But as I mentioned in my earlier discussion, I told these are available mainly in the cities. So if indigenous development is done, or if government makes efforts to make these linear accelerator, which government is doing as of now, there are many linear accelerators which have come up in the recent past, and good technology is available either in the government or the private sector. If this is made available throughout India, in to for the better reach of the population, I think that is more important. Patients need not travel all the way from their
Sure.
own place to a bigger city, and because the treatment takes almost 1 to 1.5 months, and they have to one is the patient and accompanying family members, they have to travel all the way. You would be knowing many people go to Bombay, Tata Memorial Hospital, and they wait and they stay there for 1.5 months. It would be difficult for them to arrange accommodation as well as food. Likewise, they would be traveling to various cities and trying to get the treatment done. If these technologies, whether it is in the radiation field, or if it is in the surgical or immunotherapy or medical oncology, whatever the facilities, if it is made available in the smaller places also, I think it is within the reach of all the patients, even in the interior part of India. I think that's what is most important.
Point very well taken, Doctor. You're talking about access and how access can
Yes.
be made easier to each of our patients that need it. Thank you, Doctor, for that. Moving forward, let me talk about quality. Now, I know it's sometimes the Achilles heel of a lot of products that are imported into this country. How do we see now, if we need to be a medical device manufacturing country to be reckoned with, and going forward, the entire image of the country is in question, right? It's the quality of medical devices, the quality of manufacturing, the quality that comes out of India is something that a lot of people will be looking at. Some with a lot of optimism and some waiting for it to falter. Okay, countries that do not want us to succeed. So quality, I think, will play a very, very big part. Consistent quality will have to be sustained and maintained over a longer period of time. So from each one of you, I would like to know that how do you think this drive of quality can be done, whether it be from within us, institutions, associations, government, whichever you think would play a part in this entire quality movement that needs to now come out of India with specific respect to medical devices itself. So maybe starting with you, Gaurav. I think so. You're muted, Gaurav.
So I'm sorry. As I said in the past, that the market opportunity in itself is reason enough. India represents only 3% of the global market. 97% of the market is outside. And you cannot be a net exporter of any device or equipment unless you focus expressly on making your devices world class. So as a company, we at IITPL have gone on to win every single design innovation award that there is. We won award from the Ministry of Commerce Japan, the Good Design Award. We won the Red Dot Award. We won the Design India Award by Ministry of Commerce India. And we realized that it is not, a lot of times the equipments or devices that we make are functionally extremely good. They match the specifications, they do the job, but they don't look world class. Especially talking about equipments, there is a component of industrial design that we completely miss. So talking specifically about equipments made in India, I think industrial design needs to be incorporated at the time of conceptualizing the equipment itself. It plays a huge role in how brand India is perceived, how your equipment is perceived. And Government of India should incentivize quality by giving a certain priority in public procurement to devices or equipments that are certified by the India Design Mark. Let it become a hallmark of good design coming from India.
So, yeah, India Design Mark, again, as you said, is part of the entire IPR story again. But Siraj, if I may come to you, specifically with reference, we all need good quality, right? We all need to see India giving out good quality to the overseas market. But sometimes I see a dichotomy in the fact that there are devices which are made for Europe, for example, and then there are devices made for India, for example. Now, there is a gap that exists, right? How can we bridge that gap? And what do you think a step that can be taken to bridge that quality gap? And it's across medical segments. It will not be with your companies, I'm sure, but there are certain people who have, two different kind of qualities that go out. So where do you see this whole gap converging into that quality that comes out of India? No worries.
Yeah, I mean, like Gaurav mentioned and you alluded to, quality, Indian companies consistently across industries have delivered products of world-class quality where, the market was available and where the opportunity existed. So today, if an Indian company makes two different quality versions of its product for two different markets, it is simply responding to market pressures. Right. I think there is, end of the day, you need to have a customer that is willing to pay for the additional benefit that, quality brings in terms of reliability, in terms of user experience, in terms of functionality. So I think, and the government has a big role to play in that. The government can require products to be of a certain quality, such as, BIS mark, and restrict purchases in the government setting to that. Ideas like Indian Design Mark could be explored. But I think when your buyer is, willing to differentiate on the basis of quality and willing to give a premium on the basis of quality, Indian companies have had no trouble producing world-class and high-quality products. So I think quality, like anything else, is a response, to market conditions.
Okay. Point taken. Mr. Rajesh Patel, let me rephrase that. And what I'm trying to say is, can quality be the driver in the future for medical devices coming out of India? And with almost no difference, if any, very minor, in requirements of a medical device for the Indian patient with reference to a patient in the Western developed world. Can we bridge that gap? Sir, you're muted again, sir. Sorry.
I'll take your question once again with the perspective of IVD, sir.
Sure.
As you rightly said, that there are companies who are manufacturing the same product for European market or for export market, and the same product for Indian market, and the quality is different. See, any medical device is nothing but it's a jumble of multiple components. Sure. Correct. The moment, and the quality is directly proportionate to the price anyone pay for it. And any commercial organization, when they really fall into that price war or price game, they try to compromise on the buying of these components. They try to bring the economical component to make the same medical device. And more the economical components are added to any medical device, ultimately it directly affects to the specification of that device. So the quality gets it is not that the economical medical device should be of a low quality or so.
Absolutely.
But what exactly happens that the companies try to match the specification of a high priced medical device by developing a low price medical device by reducing the quality of the components which they add to it. And I will say that the internal competition of Indian companies is responsible for it. I will give example of the pandemic, because again and again the pandemic example comes in my deliberation. See, I'll give you example of the real-time PCR test. The real-time PCR test, which was costing almost 900 rupees 2 years back, while selling to any testing laboratory or even while selling to the government institute in tender, it was costing almost 900 rupees, or the companies were selling at 900 rupees. Today, the same test is getting sold at 25 rupees. So see the rationale, the product remains the same. Over a period of time, what happens? Because the government authorities like ICMR, like Drug Controller General of India, the manufacturing licenses were given to any organization who has come forward during this pandemic time, because the anxiety buying was there. The demand was more and the suppliers were less. So at any given point of time, every state wanted to have their buffer stock as well as the everyday testing stocks available with them. So there the quality got compromised, because the companies which were manufacturing these products, they were not having any past experience of manufacturing these products. At the same time, the stringent quality measuring guidelines were also not there with government authorities as well as the approving authorities from government of India. And that time the need was there that it is the requirement is more and the suppliers are less, so whatever is available, let us buy it and let us use it. So in such kind of situation, the quality got compromised. But when we talk about our conventional buying in pathology testing, there is nothing like low quality product. There can be a low specification product or less specified product. Like we give an example of Mercedes car and Tata Nano car. The price difference may be 50 times, but then what is the specification given for Mercedes and what is specification given for Tata Nano? Both are meeting their specifications. So when
I get your point on that. I get your point that it need not be quality only; it could be specifications too. As we end near the end of this discussion, maybe I'll summarize what you all have said, and then you can all give a closing remark to what you're talking about. The beauty of this session has been so far has been the fact that everybody here is very, very optimistic about the Indian medical device industry going forward. We all are very confident, and we are very, very sure that we will be the leading lights in the medical device sector in years to come. Yes, that will require a lot of diligence, a lot of hard work, a lot of hand holding, a lot of support from the government, and a lot of innovation that needs to come across from our manufacturers, our techpreneurs, even our logistic providers at times, as Gaurav initially had mentioned, because there's so many cogs along the way, and the better we reduce them as we go forward. So a combination of all these good incentives, good medical device manufacturing locations, specific medical device manufacturing locations, schemes from the government in terms of innovation, that will come a long way, and the fact that the Indian market itself is going bigger and bigger day by day. But Dr. Vadhiraj said that how access is important, how patients can get access to newer medical devices, newer treatments, newer diagnostics. That's going to be the future soon.
Thank you,
Seems to
Sumit,
be
for brilliantly moderating the session. Really enjoyed this 1 hour.
my pleasure, sirs. My pleasure.